Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you around the world. Welcome to the daily Trade the Chain crypto update, where we give you everything you need to know for the next 24 hours and hopefully the next few days. Today is Tuesday, June 6th, and we have more unfortunate news in the crypto sector. Coinbase has officially been sued by the SEC for a litany of allegations. Part of it's staking, part of it's the trading of unregistered securities. And it follows, of course, the Binance lawsuit from yesterday, which is some of the same stuff, but I think Binance has a bit more of an uphill battle from the perspective of the complaint, at least. Binance not being a U.S. company, although they do have a U.S. arm, may prove to be a little bit difficult to nail them down on everything. But the Coinbase, of course, is a U.S. company, public in the U.S., IPO'd in 2019 and everything. So, but the big thing with Coinbase is they have a history of trying to engage with the SEC. They have receipts. They've attempted to do everything in good faith and by the book, and are very public about all of what they've done and sharing that information, which the SEC doesn't much like to do. So we will see how this plays out. But the one thing I want to kind of just preface everything with is just judging by what we've seen with the XRP lawsuits, this is not going to be solved soon. This is going to be a long, drawn-out battle. Coinbase and Binance will still continue to operate as usual. I'll bet with some outflows that we're seeing now. We're seeing millions of Bitcoin and other assets pulled from both exchanges, but they still seem to be operationally sound and therefore will continue to do business, in my opinion, through these lawsuits, and we'll obviously learn more in the future. So crypto is up from the dump yesterday. So we'll go over that in a second. But of course, starting with DXY, as we typically do, the one thing I want to note about DXY, and I told the Trade the Chain community, is this does seem to be a lower high. Tweezer Wicks, did have a little bit of a nice reaction to these lows right here. But lower high, certainly not something you want to see after this type of move. So in my opinion, DXY is more likely to move down to this 103.6 level, potentially down here at the kind of 103.4 level. But obviously, it's a slow moving asset. We'll have to see how that plays out. But if this does move down, I would expect equities to get a boost from that. So what we told the TTC community today was pretty much get above this weekly view up and hold it. Then you can start moving higher towards, towards 4,300 and potentially all the way up to the 4,320 level. But, obviously proving to be a bit difficult where we are now. So predicted, rejection there would likely send us back down to that 4,260 level, getting held at 4,270. So not perfect there, but right idea for the price action. So we're likely to, consolidate around this level, maybe tag these lows before moving higher if we do move higher. But the one thing to look out for is if we do end up tagging this 42.62 level, you either want to see a strong buy off of it, some type of wick like this, else it will likely end up dripping down to at least grab this liquidity here, and at the worst, grab this liquidity down here, which coincides with the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average, as well as support here at the 42.17 level. So equity is definitely in a precarious position, but doesn't look too bad in my opinion. I'm not seeing a deviation. I'm seeing support hold. We've kind of got this kind of got a bit of a bull flag going on here. This is the trend, top of the trend. So get above here, something like that, and that's your move. And then of course, break down here and do something like that if that is the case. So definitely would recommend being patient. No, nothing too clear or crazy from equities today. Remember, FOMC is next week. We also have CPI on Tuesday. So we did predict a bit of a flat week, for traditional assets. And I do think that that's still likely to be the case. But again, get above these highs and you've got, the 43.20 level up there to try and claim. So looking at Bitcoin, quite the fiery reaction. So the Coinbase, or I mean the SEC lawsuit against Coinbase came out, quite early, around 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Eastern. So 4 or 5 a.m. my time, because I'm on the West Coast, on Pacific time. So after that came down, we had a strong reaction. But something to always make note of, and although this is not a 100% type of thing, it's something very nice to have in your trading acumen set. So Monday is typically, like, Monday's range is generally a very important range for starting out the week. So the week opened right here. So Sunday is when, Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern is when the weekly closes. So actually the weekly close, or weekly closed and open. You guys get what I'm saying. It closes at 5 p.m. Or 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, and obviously then the subsequent candle is the open. So we closed here at the 8 p.m. mark. And so this line right here is basically your Monday high. This line right here is basically your Monday low. So obviously, sorry, they're not straight or beautiful or whatever, but this is basically your Monday range right here. So we swept the Monday low and then reclaim the Monday low. So if you ever see this is typically an automatic long with a tight stop below whatever the low from Tuesday was. So we got the low, and then it shot higher, bounced back down, grabbed the liquidity again, and then just started rocketing higher. So you're, on the first attempt, maybe then you have a tight stop. But the second attempt definitely was an automatic long. And of course, breaking above this, this level, another, automatic long, in my opinion, because you're breaking above the resistance level. And then we got held up at the VWAP a little bit, the weekly VWAP, and then we held the weekly VWAP, and then we launched higher to the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average. Now, what's important to consider here is if you're really feeling it, you're going to try and suck out this last bit of value up to this, 27K level. I would recommend being patient, because this is a pretty large move for Bitcoin already. It's about a 5% move. On the heels of some pretty crazy news. So this is where I actually closed my longs right around this level right here, because I was a bit fearful of the 26.5 level. But I definitely think we probably end up trying to grab this at some point. Maybe it's one of those like really annoying, inching higher type battles. But typically you'd expect this liquidity to get grabbed. And then, then what I would expect is something like, if this does occur, break above this, break above the 1 hour estimated 200 moving average, grab the liquidity up here, bounce back down to support. Because remember, we've got, a lot of action right around the 26.5 level. And then if this holds, then you're trading to reclaim the Monday high and move back up to 28K. And then, of course, if this fails, then you are shorting on a reclaim under 26.5K with a target, weekly VWAP first, and then this range down here, which also coincides with the previous daily close. But I wouldn't start shorting this, automatically. This does not seem like something that, you should just short indiscriminately, although we are at resistance and do have a bit of a kind of a wick right there. What I would do is, if, we get another rejection right here, start to think about shorts. But if you're shorting, your first target is at 26.5 level. So be very careful in terms of that, because you could get caught right here and things just jump back up to maybe to that 27 level. Maybe we get cut here, bounce here, then we're at 27, and then we do maybe something like that or something like that. So always consider, where we're at in the grand scheme of things, especially relative to this Monday range. So, Monday open, Monday low, or Monday high, I should say, Monday low. And then, now this is our range. So we could just make it up to 27 and get shot back down here and ping pong like this for a while. Could certainly happen. So I don't have an exact read right here. The long play this morning, and we mentioned to the TTC community, if those levels are broken, jump into those longs. But right now, definitely, best to be patient, see how we react to the 27 level. And if we seep back down under 26.5, that's probably where I'm starting a short. So looking at Ethereum, let's look at ETH BTC really quick. One thing I do want to note from yesterday's show, did mention that it grabbed these highs. Remember? So we talked about, just like with Bitcoin, it swept the lows and then moved higher, right? So just if we're looking at the inverse of that type of setup, it grabbed highs right here, swept the highs, and now we're forming identical tweezers to what we formed here. And you guys know how I feel about tweezers. Tweezers typically always a good short if you see very clear flat daily candles and then or flat candles and heavy wicks. So flat even candles, that's what I was looking for. Flat even candles and identical, near identical wicks, usually a fantastic short. So what we mentioned yesterday is it'll likely pull back to at least this trend, maybe seeps a little bit under for another deviation. Remember, had a lot of deviations down here. And so I would say it at least pulls back to, around 69 cents. It may go lower, just considering this could be a double top. A confirmed double top would send us back down to the 64-cent level. So that is something to very much be mindful of if you're trading ETH versus Bitcoin. ETH has definitely been the stronger asset, but Bitcoin definitely looks like it is going to be a little bit stronger in the near term. So looking at the Ethereum chart, let's go ahead and kind of pull this range in. So what we can see here is a pretty clear range. Obviously, my line down here is a little bit low, but does coincide with this low here. So still an ever important trend line to have. But I'm going to go ahead and just draw another one down here because this low does coincide with some other price action. So let's just kind of grab this and we'll call this a bit of a demand zone down here. So if price starts seeping in here, this is where you would want to stack longs for a potential kind of deviation down here, which would send us back higher. So obviously that's not in play right now, but very much something to consider if this does cascade and go down. So talking to the TTC community, we jumped up, at that 7 o'clock. Pretty early, jumped all the way up, near 1845. So 1845 was the number. Get above that. My initial target was really this range right here, but we obviously jumped all the way up here. And if we just do our similar exercise for Ethereum, so this is right where the Monday open was. And this is where the Monday low was. So, we grabbed that, didn't even grab the liquidity all the way down at the bottom. We just grabbed this level and then zoomed higher. And now we are at the resistance level. So look at the Monday. So it jumped above the Monday high, but kind of formed this little deviation action. And now we're getting held directly at the Monday high. So kind of thinking about Bitcoin, it's stalling right here. It hasn't reached the Monday high. Well, ETH did, and it's kind of deviating. So, if you're thinking about shorts, you would want to short down here to the 1864 level first, and then back down to 1845. And this is where you would either expect a bounce or an acceptance to then head back lower and grab the same liquidity that we grabbed today. So I don't have a clear read on this. Nothing strikes out to me as like whether you should long or short. To me, the trade for today, the U.S. Open, the U.S. session trade is over, in my opinion. You should have longed this level down here. Obviously, with the Monday high as your target, we reached that. Now we have new price action forming. I think, in my opinion, very similar to what I thought about Bitcoin, is probably going to pull back to this 26.5 level. I think ETH is probably good to pull back to 1864, 1865, maybe 1845 if enough selling occurs. But also on the inverse of that, the reason I'm not taking the trade is because there's nothing clear to me yet. There's no clear rejection. There's no clear acceptance. So if we accept above the 1875 level, then we will likely start targeting these highs up here, which is around 1915, where we were, late last week and into the weekend. So, again, no clear read, but if we do break and confirm above 1875, longs look good. Get rejected, I wouldn't just jump into shorts because this is a really tight range. So maybe you get a scalp down to 1864 on some high leverage, maybe. But what I would look for is, weakness around this level and then short down to 1845 and potentially compounds, if we end up breaking below 1845 as well. So in my opinion, basically the moral of the story today is most of the price action has already occurred. I think you can be patient and wait until the Asia session opens up and reacts to the US, trading bullishly, because Asia could just sell off, this pump, and CZ probably needs a couple extra stacks to manage this lawsuit. But definitely positive to see this type of reaction in the face of probably two of the most critical lawsuits to ever face the industry. I mean, the two largest exchanges, the largest global exchange and the largest US exchange, is basically being, hit over the head, or attempted to be hit over the head by pretty much the largest and, arguably the most powerful regulatory body on the planet. Now, of course, it's only relevant to the U.S.'s borders, but the U.S. does feel that they're the world police, and will attempt to stick their foot in pretty much every door they can imaginable. So personally, I do feel like the Coinbase lawsuit will end up winning. That is, it's just based on all of the actions that Coinbase has taken to try and engage with the SEC, and the SEC basically saying, go F yourself. Binance, I think, the story is a little bit different because I think the allegations are a little bit more nefarious. There is, there's some quotes in there from, Binance personnel, dating back to 2018, 2019. So it could be stale, everything could have changed. They could have fired that person. They could have reprimanded them. They could have dealt with them, but it doesn't look good in a court of law, I will say. But the big but is that Binance US is very much, in my opinion, a throwaway to the Binance infrastructure. I mean, I don't really think that there's a whole lot of Binance US business going on comparative to the large business. Certainly, it would be a decrease in revenue. Nobody wants to see that. But if Binance lost Binance US and just had to pull out from the US, that's good for Coinbase if they win, which, American companies serving American customers, not a bad thing. And then if Binance gets, loses Binance US, they exit the US, they're still operating in hundreds of, tens and hundreds of countries around the globe. And they can just, leave the US and maybe come back later with a new regulator, with a new, political regime. And, it could be, it could just be, a bit of a pain and annoyance for them for 1 to 2 years, and then they just come back in full force. So, in my opinion, I think, the fact that Bitcoin only dropped 5% in the face of this news, and then pretty much just grabbed back the majority of that move, Ethereum included, is definitely something to take note of. This very much seems like a black swan event, and we really didn't get a black swan. Now it could come. Markets are never, exact. Things pricing in is never immediate, although it is a lot of time. So there still are risks ahead, but I do think that this is an extremely positive indication that we are bouncing this hard in the face of that news. And I believe the U.S. government was transferring crypto to their Coinbase wallets. So need to actually look into that a little bit more. But I did see reports of U.S. Bitcoin, U.S. government Bitcoin on the move. So we'll cover that obviously later today in B3, and we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow, because obviously the news really just came across the wire this morning, trying to digest everything, figure out what's happening, of course, with price action and fundamentals. So we'll continue this will be an updated story day over day, especially as we learn more about Binance and Coinbase and more. So wishing everybody the best of luck in trading this week. I think, best to be patient after this big move. Maybe some shorts will come into vogue. Maybe we get a little bit more long squeeze, or a squeeze of shorts higher in favor of longs. But I think right now, after all this price action, wait a couple hours till the daily close, see how Asia reacts, and then make your move there. But I will say preliminarily, very positive sign in the market. So good luck. Happy trading. See everybody tomorrow.